Ladies and gentlemen, it's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and our guest is Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I'm in a new place. I'm at SC Parker Brokerage Firm,
Mhm.
where the tenors and the church choir sings. One of my friends here he's in the room with me, spectating as well.
Excellent.
So Frank, yep. So that's good. So it's introducing Sasha Starr. So there you go.
Thank you.
hmm
So,
Okay.
are we talking about chess or investments today? What would you?
Well, that's a good question. I'm actually at halftime in a talk I'm giving, where
Yeah.
one of the points I'm making is that my chess model is highly nonlinear.
hmm
Okay. And so is economics. So, what the Trump administration unveiled yesterday was a linear formula that equalizes the dollar flow between any US and any country it's applied to. So if economics were linear, it would be appropriate, but it's not. And I don't think they've done any simulations of how this formula is likely to work. And in my nonlinear chess model, I get some really weird dynamics unless I adopt a highly structured and controlled approach to any update or new equation that I feed into the model.
You see, again, there is something on top of all mathematical models. One may construct around this question. The problem is that there is an upheaval all over the world against United States and Donald Trump and Elon Musk in particular, that
Mhm.
may cloud a normal judgment of where tariffs were justified, where they were not justified, they were justified but partially and should be fine-tuned perhaps. And this is all very cloudy situation right now because China retaliated a few hours ago with their own 34% mirror tariffs on US.
Right.
And European Union asked all European businesses stop their investments in US and preparing their retaliatory actions. And it coming to the point that Europeans, for example, because of all that Trump's talk about Europeans teaching them what to do and how to do, and asking Canada to become 51st state, and all this just inflicts even more damage on top of the tariffs.
Right.
So some of these European countries, they are willing to go as far as inflict huge damages to themselves if
Yes.
it helps to punish US. Yeah, that's getting a ridiculous situation. It's like a spiral, downward spiral, when there will be, and it will just increasingly. Um, that's why I'm saying that the descent of the stock market hasn't even started yet. What we've seen in the last few days is nothing. The market
Mm.
is still doing quite well by historical standards, and it has to drop another 25 to 30% to get reality out, to have people think,
Mhm.
okay, this is what's happening. So what's the problem? Is the tariffs the problem? So let's talk about it. Let's negotiate it. Because right now there is no demand of Americans to do anything about it. So you might as well get on and play chess online and don't even think.
Yeah. Well, we could go on and play chess or sports. Yeah. I had a lot more sports on TV.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's the power of amity and comity and cooperation was demonstrated. Should have been conclusively in the 1980s, and
Mhm.
1990s.
Yeah.
But now it's 25 years later, people forget or people have no respect. They follow their grievances. They want to reset, but there's even when you call it soft power, it's power. They should recognize it, but they don't.
But it's
And
no
so
more.
it's,
United States has lost all its soft powers. There is no more. Now,
yeah.
United States might as well go and start military actions against certain countries which are difficult to deal with or so on. Well, take, for example, Japan. Japan unloaded $30 billion worth of U.S. debt instruments, T-bills or whatever they hold, and they are going to do it every second week. But China has even more US debts than Japan. And China will start unload. And with this $37 trillion worth of debt, US may run out of options to finance it. So, and by constitution of US cannot declare bankruptcy. You see, Trump can do it, but not United States. That's a big
Mhm.
difference. So, so it's becoming kind of a. Anyway, we have now World Championship ladies.
Yes, and something happened today. So that's the first game I'm going to present. And
Yeah.
then another game at the European Women's Championship, all female for today.
So let's talk about females. And by the way, my
Mhm.
wife today has a birthday, and she
Ooh.
is 8 times Canadian chess champion, international master of chess.
Mhm.
Played in 13 World Chess Olympiads. You know what? I think maybe she should try next year to play another chess Olympiad because 13 is kind of a not very happy number, so she might go for 14th. But we'll see.
Okay. Oh, well, more power to her. That would be great. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you, Ken.
yeah. Okay. So anyway, so this is where the challenger, Tan Zhongyi, defeated the champion since 2018, Zhu Wenjun. And this game is a definite counterexample to the maxim that all rook endings are draws. So, so anyway, so it started off quietly, and the game really does seem quiet for a while. So English opening, the classical English with black playing e5. So we have a sort of
can,
high kind
can
of
we see
structure.
can we see the board, Ken?
Oh. Can I shared the tab? Is it not? Can you see it?
No.
Not yet. Okay, maybe I'll try sharing my whole screen then. Okay, let's try that. All right, so let me go back to StreamYard and present um, uh, share screen, and this time I will share the entire screen. Let's see. Whoops. Oh, entire screen. Here we go. Okay, so we'll momentarily have the mirrors effect, but I switched to this window. So let me know when the board appears. Uh, so, so far, the players have played their 4 knights to the natural squares. White is pawn on c4, black is pawn on e5.
But what's happened with the board? We still don't see it.
Oh, let's see. Now, it's possible that the fact that I'm also projecting in the room has
I
has
see.
confused this. So let me pull out the HDMI cable and let it revert. And now let's see if the board appears. Okay. Uh,
Not yet.
all right. So now,
Not yet.
yep. So let me actually stop sharing and reshare once more.
Okay.
Let's see if that doesn't work. So yes, so this is also a discourse on how technology behaves. All right, let's see. So now,
No.
yep. Wait 5 more seconds.
Okay.
It's you see it?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
So what haven't you tried it yet?
Yeah, what haven't I tried? Yeah, let's see. I mean, the only other thing I could do is restart my laptop. But let's see. No, okay. All right, let me try it. Try kicking it once more. Mark, any insight? Let's see now. Share screen. I'm going to try sharing just the tab this time.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so now I'm sharing the tab.
But I don't see anything.
It picks up on my computer.
Hmm.
Okay, now I'm back to this, but here's the tab. Okay, that's just fine. trying, let's see, whoops, I recycled something. I recycled it to the end of the game, though. That didn't do anything. Okay, so it's still not showing.
Yes, I can see it now.
Oh, okay. All right. So one of the buttons I hit.
English or not?
Okay. All right. So this is where I was. Okay. So so black, is able to equalize things in the center. The question is, will white's pressure on the queen side carry the day? And okay, so black certainly has an active development, but white is putting pieces on light squares. Okay, black prevents white from bringing a piece to g5. So now, however, though, where white is beginning a slow but pretty strong offensive on the queen side. Okay, bishop goes to a nice square. Now the knight is uncovering white's other bishop, and black tries to get counterplay. Okay, so this is actually the knight driving off white's bishop. But here is where white now is able to get some extra tempi for pressure on the queen side. So now black does have two bishops, but white has a strong center and automatic pressure down the b file. So I don't know if the players were in book at this time. It is possible that white was, because white began with 1:30 and has only consumed about 10 or so minutes. Black has spent a half hour plus whatever increment time was up to here. Okay, so white now, this is a lever in making. So either black will have to allow a6 or black will have to make a hole. Okay, so black decided not to make the hole by playing a6, but now white is able to corner black's bishop with the better central control. So black no longer has the two bishops, and now white's bishop is far better than her black counterpart. Okay, so this is how positional chess is played. And the nature of this position is such that white will retain the pole, even if and when black is able to exchange more pieces. Okay, so black gets rid of the pawn, but now white has the more active rook as well as the more active bishop. Okay, putting pressure on c6. So white isn't winning anything at point here. Everything white is attacking is defended by black. c6 is defended twice. But it's uncomfortable to play black's position. And white still has a couple of strategic ideas involving pawn pushes, even possibly f4 in some position. Okay, so black decides to, under enough pressure to try to relieve it by exchanging more. White exchanges this pawn and then brings the queen to a center square, which induces black to trade. And now it may seem that most of white's advantage is gone because white is no longer dominating the center, and black's bishop is now just as good as white's. In fact, both bishops come off the board, and we're left with a rook ending, the maximum being that every rook ending is a draw. Well, this one's not. Black still is under a little pressure with white's rooks well placed and ready to invade the 7th rank. So black tries just in time to get rid of one of white's rooks and does so. So we have this position, and white has two major advantages. One, white's rook is better placed, and two, white's king is better placed. White's king can come to the center, black's king cannot so easily. So therefore, black tries to relieve more tension, but here comes white's king to the center. And the relieving of the tension brought about a passed pawn for white that white can use. Now, I will say the computer does say that after king f8, black is almost equalized here.
What about rook b8?
Or rook b8 is the second best move. That's also a good move. Put the rook behind the passed pawn. But black played king f8. The thing is that even though black has played wonderfully and has neutralized a lot of white's advantage, white still obviously has more to play for. So white's rook is behind the pawn, and it's more difficult to play this for black. Okay, so we've now made black defend the pawn from the side, and white's beautiful little maneuver. Now black's rook can't give check anymore, and white has the king established in the center again. But okay, black is still not losing by any means, but actually the computer now says that white has a 6/10 advantage. So black should have tried some more concerted counterplay in the
Maybe G5 was better than
yeah,
H5.
maybe G5 actually is the move to try to take advantage of the fact that white has not played H4.
Mhm.
Yes, I would say that's probably better.
Yeah, and then G4 and H5, I think it's very easy to make a draw in this position.
Right. So, right. So we are in the zone of one mistake, and that mistake comes on black's next move. So it seems to be logical to
Ah,
play the king over, but this is mistiming or misunderstanding the attack that white is bringing. So king e4, okay, and now maybe this is the point where Zhu Wenjun downward clock. Now, this is the other thing to note. This is turn 40. The increment does not yet come for black, so there was some time pressure at this situation. So why couldn't black play d5? Okay, so the answer is sorry, g6. The answer is that eventually white will play d5 and cut off the rook, and then black's b pawn will fall. And actually, white has an even more sadistic move to play first. That's rook b6, denying black's rook's access to the f6 square. And then after king e7, d5, black's rook is functionally trapped. Okay, you have
what
to
about Rook F6?
yes. Well, so is rook f6? Does white win by taking the rook? Yes. So the computer calculates in an instant that despite the outside passed pawn, black cannot actually get access to white's pawn in time. So
Yeah,
here the king elbows black away from the d6 square, and white has time to capture black's pawn. So it's a beautiful little point that because black can't come to e5 in this position, or nor e6, white actually has time to gather black's pawn and then simply win the king and pawn ending. So all of this was probably a miscalculation that Zhu Wenjun made in time pressure from what she may have thought would be an easily held game. But now, in fact, there is no holding this game anymore, as far as I believe. And the rest now was a pretty solid execution by white. Well, maybe I'm wrong here because now maybe black has gotten enough counterplay. Okay, so maybe white could have played more accurately on one of the last two moves. Maybe d5 was too quick. Let's let the computer tell us. Yeah, rook e5 check and f5 actually splitting black's pawns was a more aggressive way to go. Rook e5 check, king d7. So this is called striking when the iron is hot, and that will either force black to play an uncomfortable g5 or split black's pawns. But okay, so white instead played d5, and that did give black time to get counterplay. So maybe black could have held this with accurate play. Let's see where Zhu Wenjun made the last mistake. Okay, well, white's going to harvest some pawns as well, and it may have been right here actually. So it was better for black to play king e8. So this is probably the losing moment. So the losing moment in response to this check, even though you think you should be observing the pawn, it was probably more important to deny f7 to white's rook.
Yeah, but then King d6 also quite unpleasant for black instead of Rook g7.
Yeah, so it turns out that black can even though this looks like you're just losing a pawn, black is able to liquidate, and black's king is still close enough to deal with white's e-pawn. So this is, in fact, a draw.
Yeah.
Pawns will come off, and black's king can get in front of the pawn. So, of course, rook endings are very tricky. So after king c8, now I believe black really is lost. So we tried the same thing, but now f5 was possible. Whereas with the king on e8, f5 wouldn't work. Black would just win white's g-pawn, And if rook g6, black would be able to defend the pawn with king e7. So probably just enough time to get counterplay. But here we go. So black tries getting a pawn, but it's going to be too late. White still has to play very accurately. King d6 is the right move. King c6 gives away the advantage because it allows black a check. So king d6, great move. It's gonna sideline black's king, and Zhu Wenjun let it happen voluntarily rather than play rook h1, which is what I would have done. And now white has king in front of the pawn, and black is not making progress on tempi to play. Okay, so you still have to be very accurate. Drive black's king to the end, observe the pawn, and now, so rook e2. So you have to think. So this now is making a bridge where white's king can get out of check, and black can't stop it. And this is where Zhu Wenjun resigned.
Wow, it's an equal number of pawns and all material, and yet black has no option as to resign.
Right.
Yeah.
So early decisive result in the Women's World Championship match. We shall see what happens.
Okay.
I have a short and sweet game from the European Women's, which is being played in Rhodes, just off the coast of Turkey, but belonging to Greece. So this is how black. So this is Maria Brunello of Italy playing against Govar Beydulayeva, okay, who has had some very good performances recently. She is one of the co-leaders on 3.5 out of 4 at this moment. Today playing the 5th round, and I haven't looked to see what's happening yet. And this is how to get the advantage really quickly in the Gioco Piano as black. So if we play the modern Gioco Piano with d3, you say white could have played 2 knights defense.
Wait, are we still watching the championship game?
I shared a tab. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right. I forgot. I shared a tab to get that to work. So let me go back. Okay, so present, share screen, and share a different tab. Okay, so now this one here. Okay, so let's see now. Let me know when you see it.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not yet?
No.
Okay. I actually clicked the wrong arrow button. So let me get back to round 4 here. It's still in the same tab, so it should show. Now you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll go back to the beginning of this game. Okay, great. So black could play 2 knights defense with knight f6 and does so, but rather than play d4, which is the move I play here, white plays d3, and we get into the Gioco Piano territory. So c3, white doesn't fear back playing bishop g4. He always used to think it was a mistake to castle too early. But instead, black makes room for her bishop. White plays rook e1. Black castles. Now white plays h3 to stop a piece coming to g4. And black tries to neutralize pressure. So white is moving around, but actually notice that black is completely developed and white is not. Okay, so white occupies the center, but watch what black does a couple of moves from now. First, gains a tempo on white's bishop, then swings the knight to defend e5, and white still has not developed her queenside bishop. So now black is going to bring a knight to f4 before white gets a knight into f5. Okay, so here we go, knight on f4. Now the computer still thinks white is fine here, but white is not developed, so maybe not fine in chess terms. Black shores up her center. And now, this d5 move, even though things just look equal in the center, it's actually more powerful than white's d4 move because white's e4 is a weakness, and because black's bishop on a7 commands a diagonal, whereas both of white's bishops are back in their home squares. So this is already a substantial advantage for black. And we'll see that white's game becomes functionally lost, even though it doesn't necessarily look lost. Okay, white is going to feed Keto. Black now has pressure on the two best files that may come open. So black opens one of the ways. And here white makes actually what could have been a catastrophic mistake, but certainly a mistake. White's only good defense, according to the computer, was to play this pawn forward up to here to lock out the bishop. Even if you wind up sacrificing the pawn, it gains white some tempi. But instead, white captured, and now black actually could have taken a wrecking ball to white's position by doing this and doing that. You don't necessarily know that this piece sacrifice is going to work, but, oh, look, it looks really good with the queen coming on the long diagonal. Well, maybe not. Okay, maybe the computer's evaluation is f takes e5. That's the stronger move.
Yeah, and the e4 is the threat. No.
Right, but white can't preserve control over the e4 square. Okay, so black could have won right away, but there's nothing wrong strategically, really, with how black played. Black, you'll see some more question mark moves, but black really plays with a plan and smoothly retains the advantage throughout. So what happens in real chess term now is a bit of a massacre. The pawn's pinned, so now white loses the good bishop, so don't have a defender on the king side anymore. Black swings the other piece to come around. Is e4 hanging? Well, no, it's really not, because now we got pressure on this diagonal, crossfire on the diagonals, and white could have maybe tried to defend by f3, but that would have had other problems. Black would just drive white's pieces back and play b6, and you've weakened. You're being threatened with mate on g1 already after b5 and queen b6. So white played more actively this way. I don't think that move's really a mistake. Okay, so white is finally developing, but black is just too strong here. Okay, white finally brings the rook into the game, but far too late. There's just too much pressure on the e file. White brought up the king to defend, but that sheds a pawn, and then this shed a piece, and white gave up. So a real power display by black in this game.
Yeah, very good development, and tactically, maybe one inaccuracy there was, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, really missed opportunity to resolve the game. And so let's see. So Gofar Bayodayeva, unfortunately, met her fate against Alexander Maltsevskaya. It looks like black played very actively to put white's king in trouble in this game. So maybe we'll show this next week.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So come out of this and
Ken, thank you so much for very interesting games, and have a great weekend, and all our listeners. And we'll see you next week, same place, same time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
Enough food.
Yep.